You can get as fancy as you want and as tricky as you want, and it's cool. But as soon as you go old school and plug something in and realize where all the sounds you grew up from came from and how easy it really was, you just kind of go, why do I need all this crap? You know, buy the right guitar, buy the right amp, buy the right cable.
Says the man who just built a wet, dry, wet rig for a guy.
Well, everything has its place, you know.
For an artist who wants it.
This is
Yeah. Now, when it comes right down to it, that rig, I mean,
you want
play
crazy,
through that rig and you
crazy.
just kind of go, oh my God, you know. But there has to be a realization that goes with gear like that. And this is the realization. You know, simple is where you start. The tone has to come from here. What you do with it after that, that's up to your imagination. If you don't have, if it's not in there in the first place, you're never going to get it. You know, you can always take something out. That's a great place to start if you're looking for something that it really impresses you and inspires you to say, okay, what's my first building block? You sit down and if you're a wise, you know, the one thing that I've always believed is that the wise man learns by the mistakes of others. And you can look at all of the fancy gear in the world, and if it doesn't sound good, start taking stuff out. You know, a lot of times the more stuff you take out, the better it sounds. You know, this rig that I did for this guy in Columbus here a couple weeks ago, he had all kinds of gear. And it was all plugged in just the way the manufacturer said they wanted you to use it. God, it was awful. You know, it was so noisy and just so bad. And we really didn't replace much of anything in his rig. We just redid it and did it the way that it should be. You know, don't always listen to what the manufacturer says. You know, of course, I've had an occasion to make enough mistakes with it on myself to know what works and what doesn't. But, you put certain things in the nose end and certain things in the effects loop. If it doesn't have an effects loop, you get an attenuator with a line out so you can make one. You know, call it a good day. And that rig was absolutely monstrous. I had it hooked up when he got here. I had it hooked up through 3/4/12 cabinets. And I said, I told him, I said, before we start playing this and getting sounds out of it that you can use, I said, I want you to understand what you own. And I started playing through this thing, and I mean, I looked over at him and his mouth was hanging open, his eyes were about as big as a dinner plate. And I finished playing, he says, I own that? And I said, yeah. I said, well, the good part about it was the way that the rig was set up, it sounded just like that at lower volume. You could get all of the feedback, all of the tonal response, the response from the strings, and whatever you needed out of it at low volume, because everything was still there. You know, that was the one thing that the Weber attenuator gave him. Yeah. It was real cool. We got it down to a point where you could talk loud and hear one another, but still stand there and hold the note until it fed back. You know, it was very cool. Very cool. I thought it was really kind of nice because when he finished and I made up the invoice for him, he wrote me a check, and under on the memo line, he said perfection.